Hello everybody, happy Friday. Hey, as you're tuning in to our live discussion today, pop in, let me know that you're here. Give me a comment, give me a wave, let me know what you're doing this Friday. We are today talking about why our body changes after 40, what you can and most importantly what you should do about it. Hello Brandy. As you're popping in, say hello. If you're watching the replay, always put the replay in the comments so I know that y'all are watching. Hi Donna. And as you're tuning in, let me know what you're doing this weekend. Let me know if there's any fun plans. I always like to live vicariously through my friends. When I teach a group fitness class, I typically ask them at the end, what's for dinner? Who knows? We can always learn from each other. Hi Casey, what's for dinner? Hi Erica. How's everybody doing today? So again, we're talking about why our bodies change around 40. Hi Sally. My mother-in-law always tunes in. Your son's downstairs working out and not working his real job. Hi Faye. We're talking about how our bodies change after 40, what you should do about it, and what you can do about it, what you should do about it. Casey's having chicken. Taking my husband to Bourbon and Brews. Is that a restaurant? Probably. As you're tuning in again, so let me know if you can relate to this topic, ask or let me know what you've experienced so far. If you're over than 40, well over than 40, let me know what it's a festival. Let me know what you've experienced, what you did experience, how things have changed for you than maybe when you were younger. We have varied amounts of different ages in this group, but for the most part, I don't think we have any 20-year-olds in here. For the most part, we're all in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So again, let me know what you've experienced in your midlife. What's been the biggest change that you've seen? I know I commented and posted on the Facebook group, but hey, let's put it in the comments right now. Let me know, what did you see? What did you experience as your body started changing in your midlife? For me, I've noticed that my body is it doesn't bounce back as much. I have to take a lot more purposeful time for recovery. I can't be as quick to jump into a workout. I have to warm up. I feel more sore than I typically do. Hi Megan, hi Debbie. Erica feels exhaustion. I was just about to say that. I feel like I am constantly tired. I got 9 hours of sleep last night and I woke up tired. Hi Lisa. This is a really good topic today. Sally experienced hot flashes, weight gain, and tired quicker. Yeah, for sure. Libido, yep, dry skin. So we're going to talk about all the reasons why that happened, and it boils down to estrogen. And we probably know this, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why it happens and what is actually happening in your body, so you have a better understanding of what is actually going on to your body. Lots of weight gain, skin is wrinkly. Yeah, so it has a lot to do with that hormone estrogen and how when it starts to disappear and fluctuate, what sort of changes you should expect or probably are experiencing, and maybe you don't have any explanation for why. The thing is, when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, we all know we're going to experience things differently. We're all different people. We all have different physiology. We all have different lives and different stressors. So for sure, it's going to be different for everybody, but we can all share the same types of similar experiences. And it boils down to a lot of the same things that you can and should do to better your life, to better your outlook, to better your physical health. And we'll kind of chat about that. Seems no amount of stretching is enough. Injuries are faster and easier to come by. Takes a lot longer to heal. Yeah, so our bodies are just getting older, and unfortunately, that's the real cause of it, is just our body is getting older. But we as women have a lot more changes when it comes to hormones that men don't typically experience, and a lot of it has to do with hormones. So a lot of the typical things that you see when it comes to changes in your body turns to the changes in your hormones. Irregular menstrual cycle is usually the first indication that that's happening, but a lot of the times, hi Heather, a lot of the times before you even see your irregular menstrual cycle, you're probably already experiencing things in perimenopause, which is a general term for around menopause. We know that the average woman in the US goes through menopause in her early 50s, but perimenopause can start to happen as early as 35. So, and we don't often talk about this with our doctors, and our doctors don't usually have these candid conversations, and I know at least mine didn't. And I have been certainly on my own research kick to understand what's happening and what's going to happen. So once you start to see these irregularities in your menstrual cycle, yeah, that's a big clue that stuff is happening in your body. Your estrogen is starting to fluctuate, your progesterone is starting to change as well, but it's not just those changes in your menstrual cycle that should clue you in. Hot flashes, night sweats, all of those things that are typical menopausal symptoms don't always happen right away. They tend to happen when the fluctuations are bigger and more dramatic. Lots of things have to do with your skin and the way estrogen influences the vessels in your skin, the vessels around your heart. To be honest with you, estrogen will influence your vaginal health. So a lot of the times women will experience changes in vaginal atrophy and changes in like sensation, and all of those things have to do with when your estrogen starts to fluctuate. And when I say fluctuate, hi Nadine, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to decrease. It just means there's rapid shifts in high levels of estrogen and then low spurts of estrogen, and it's very different than your body's used to. And so it changes things. Your skin changes, your cardiovascular system, you are at risk for cardiovascular disease. Unfortunately, that's the thing with women, is we think that men have heart attacks. Men typically have cardiovascular disease, but heart disease is one of the leading causes of death in females as well. So it has a lot to do with your estrogen levels starting to decrease, because estrogen has a protective influence on the vessels around your heart, and when that estrogen starts to diminish and starts to decrease, your blood vessels around your heart tend to be a bit more sticky, and cholesterol plaques tend to start to accumulate. All of this being said, we know that estrogen is the thing to blame. Is it a natural part of our aging and process? Yes. And we talked about this last week. So if you haven't been and watched some of the video I talked about last week about balancing your hormones, I kind of went into a little bit more detail about what the changes are doing in your body. But those of you that mentioned weight gain, there's a couple of reasons why estrogen has this influence on weight gain and body composition changes. And it has to do with two different things. First, your estrogen tends to influence the metabolism in your body, tends to influence how it produces energy. And when you start to see those diminished effects of estrogen, sure, your metabolism will start to slow somewhat. Now, I said this on the last talk, metabolism doesn't typically tend to slow down until you're 60. There was this massive study done where they assessed a wide variety of people throughout the world. And the one flaw of that study is they didn't tease out any of those women that might have been on hormone replacement therapy, because hormone replacement therapy could reverse some of the changes that you're seeing with diminished estrogen and fluctuation of progesterone. So when you do get those hormones replacement, you might see changes in your metabolism in a positive way. So that being said, the other thing that we notice is we start to see weight gain. We start to see redistribution of your fat stores. And let's think about this in a physiologically relevant way. So men and women are different. Men and women look different. You know, what if you see a woman dressed up in men's attire? In fact, I watched a dance recital for my kids' dance on Wednesday night, and there was a scene where they needed a gentleman in a suit, as if he was a businessman on a committee, and it was a woman dressed in a business suit. I'm like, well, clearly it's a woman. She's got hips, she's got breasts. She clearly looks like a woman because her estrogen has placed her fat stores in those areas for a man to see, yep, that is a woman, okay? Now, of course, we're not going to get started about gender identity and all that stuff, but biologically speaking, estrogen places fat stores in the hips, in the breasts, to identify that being as female. When estrogen starts to diminish, what happens? So you no longer have the influence of estrogen, and so your fat isn't told to go to different places. It isn't told to go into those female-specific places, and it goes to where it default stores things, and that is in your visceral abdominal area. So if you start to see fat accumulation on your belly, a bigger waistline, you just feel like it's going different places, that's why. And you're not crazy. And that's why, because you're no longer under the influence of your female reproductive hormones. And so let's think about it that way too. If somebody, in an evolutionarily speaking sense, if a male wants to reproduce with a female, they need to reproduce with a viable female in her reproductive years. And so if just looking on looks, that being needs to be identified as a female in her reproductive years. So there's biological reasons why this happened. Yeah, it fucking sucks. I don't want to have belly fat starting to accumulate just because I'm 40 and above, but it happens. And that's really what's going on. Put it in the comments if that's what you're experiencing. Do you feel helpless? Do you feel like it's kind of a doom and gloom? And I know I have some ladies on here that have been through menopause that are already on the other side of it. And let's remember that this is a process in your life. And so you're not always going to be under this fluctuation in unstable amounts of your hormones. Once you get on the other side of things, you come back into a homeostasis of postmenopausal where it is different. It's a different ballgame. You are now no longer reproductive, and now your body is going to come into a different state. Now, for those of you that have been there, put it in the comments. Tell us, for those that haven't, I haven't, I'm not postmenopausal, I'm perimenopausal. What's it like? Like, have you noticed changes? Have you felt like your body has come out the other side? Put that in the comments. Because it's true. It is certainly just a stage in our life, and it's not necessarily the ending of being reproductive. It's a beginning of something different. And a lot of the times with women I speak with, they feel like it's kind of doom and gloom. Oh crap, I'm not 20 anymore. Oh crap, I'm not even 30 anymore. And I can feel it. That mindset will not help you. Right? Will not help you. Helps the bones. Yeah, that was on my notes. Thanks, Lisa. So for sure, estrogen certainly does help the bones and the heart. So I already kind of touched on the heart, meaning when estrogen is present, it starts to have influence on the blood vessels, and it will positively support the blood vessels. It will keep them supple and prevent them from having plaque and arterial clots, especially with bones. So in terms of estrogen and bones, estrogen influences osteoclasts, which are basically cells that will break up old bone, and estrogen will inhibit that. So estrogen stops the osteoclasts from breaking up bone, from deteriorating bone tissue. When estrogen is no longer present, those osteoclasts have more availability to act upon bone, and so your bones tend to deteriorate postmenopausal. And if you're not doing things about it. So we will certainly talking about all the things you should do about the lifestyle changes you should be doing in your 40s, 50s, 60s. No matter your age, if you're not doing some of these things, it is never too late to start. So that's kind of the second half of this chat that I'm going to talk about. Yeah, so Heather's feeling it too. Yeah, you hardly recognize yourself. It fucking sucks. You know, especially because a lot of us are here in this network that we're growing in this group because of fitness. We're all very active in fitness. We take group fitness classes, or maybe we strength train. We all have this mindset of fitness is a lifestyle, but despite all of those things, no matter what you do, sometimes it still isn't enough. And sometimes you still will experience these body composition changes. That being said, that's when that compassionate self-care mindset is going to be your secret weapon. And I need to be talking to myself back here too as well, because I'm starting to see those things as well, where I see the scale go up. I'm like, well, shit, I've been, focusing on my fitness and my strength and my nutrition, and shoot, it's happening no matter what I do. So Lisa says she's 70. She does have a dip in energy, which is sad because Lisa, go Bender. I don't take it easily and have less energy. Yeah. It's hard to be that person where you compare like, oh, I used to have so much energy in my 20s, so much energy in my 40s even, because I think it's a natural process to start to slow down. Because why would you want to have the energy of a 20-year-old? Hell, I look at my 6-year-old, my 7-year-old, and she's sitting in a chair and she can't sit still. I'm like, I can't even imagine being like that. So it's natural. So we go back to that self-compassion. Even though we may not like it, and even though we understand what's going on, self-compassion is going to be the biggest secret weapon of understanding and accepting, but also saying, I am doing the very best things that I can to support my health, and the appearance may or may not be what I want, and that might just be something we have to either accept and be okay with, or continue to support this idea of doing the very best, and what happens, happens, right? So let's talk about all the things you can do and all the things that you should do. So that was the kind of the topic of today's discussion. We've already kind of gone over like what is exactly going on during perimenopause and menopause. If you have any questions about it, or maybe something else that you're experiencing, oh, we didn't really touch on like mood and like mood swings and emotional and sleep disturbances. Like that's another common occurrence as well. So you might see mood changes, and that all has to do with your estrogen's influence on neurotransmitters in your brain. Sleep disturbances also have to do with neurotransmitters and how influence of estrogen has on it. Like seriously, it's all down to estrogen. And if you are experiencing these massive symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, there is no reason why you can't consult your doctor and ask about hormone replacement therapy. I talked about this on the last live. It gets a bad rap because it could potentially be correlated with increased risk for breast cancer, but that's not necessarily true. It is not necessarily true for everybody, and it's a miscommunication between you and your doctor about that risk. And if they tell you that risk without giving you any sort of background on why, I would challenge them. Yep. Yeah. And that's the worst. So don't get me started about like medical gaslighting about like, oh, you're fine. This is just normal. It's not normal. It is normal, but it doesn't have to be this way. There are lots of places that will listen to your concerns. And if your OB, your GYN isn't listening to you, find a new GYN. Yeah. So let's talk about all the things you can do and all the things you should do. So I've kind of already touched on it. And the biggest one really has to do with self-care and stress management. So first off, self-care. So it sounds like it should be a luxury. It sounds like those things that, oh, self-care only when I have time. Or, oh, self-care only when, I can afford it. Self-care is not just pedicures and indulging in chocolate and getting a massage. Like, that's not self-care. Like, self-care is knowing that maybe you shouldn't say yes to this engagement, or maybe you shouldn't say yes to going out with your friends, or maybe you know that saying yes too many times on your schedule gives you too much anxiety or overloads you and overwhelms you. That is reflective of self-care. It's also along with setting boundaries. So setting boundaries are those things that will like support you in more ways than none. What sort of ways do you support your self-care? And what sort of ways do you support your own boundaries? Do you say yes to everything? Do you feel the need to support everybody else but you? Is that you? And how can you make this better? Like, how can you improve your self-care? That's number one. And why did I put that as number one? Because I could have told you, oh yeah, eat better, move more, all of those typical things. Because those are the things we already know what to do. And I'm going to talk about that, because what dietitian and personal trainer would I be if I wasn't going to talk about good nutrition and good fitness? But honestly, self-care has to be the biggest thing. I am obviously running a business, offering services to help others with mindset, help others with living their best life. And most of my coaching rolls around this type of stuff. Yeah, I can help them with increasing their protein intake. I can help you with prescribing a workout routine for you. But most of my coaching has to do with, oh, was that really a great thing for you to do? Or, let's talk about that certain situation and how could you have done that differently? What would you have done differently if this situation came to you again? And that's a form of self-care, of understanding what helps you to live the life that you're looking to live, right? And it often gets overlooked. And it gets overlooked because we are the people that take care of others. Women are naturally maternal, obviously, and we take care of others, and usually we're last on the list. Do you agree? And is it hard for you to say, I'm putting myself first for at least a couple of things. My family knows that my things that come first are always a workout and good dinners. Those two things are a huge priority in my life. I have to get my workout in. My husband will, make sure it happens. Like today we're like, okay, well, when do you want to be on the bike so I can be on the bike later? When do you need to be on this? When do you want to get this in? Because he knows that's part of my self-care. So what do you do for self-care? I'm getting tons of notifications right now. Because of me. You're funny, Casey. What do you do for self-care? And then what do you do for stress management? Because those two things kind of go hand in hand. Self-care and stress management. How often are you stressed? And how well do you deal with the stress? Because let's be real, stress will always be there. Your life is never going to be devoid of stress. You will always have something stressing you out. So, how do you deal with it? What do you do? Do you take time to breathe? Do you close the doors, turn the lights off, close your eyes and breathe? Do you go for a walk? Put it in the comments. What do you do? I want to know. Because the more that everybody else sees what you do, then hopefully somebody else might look at that and go, oh, okay, I could do that too. That might help me. What do? I work out. That makes me feel less stressed. A good workout does make me feel less stressed. But if it's in a moment that I can't, then I literally will shut my office door, close my eyes, and just breathe for a few minutes. Deep breaths, in and out. And then I'm also in therapy. I'll be honest, I'm in therapy to deal with stress, to deal with anxiety, to deal with things that my mind does to myself. Because those are the things that I'm experiencing in my 40-year-old body. More stress, more anxiety, mood changes, lots of depression at this point. So yeah, what do you do for self-care? What do you do for stress management? That's number one. Of course, there are times when you need to seek professional help. I did so. I have a really great therapist here in town. He calls me on my bullshit. He calls me on when I'm being too hard on myself. We are very much, me and my therapist are very much alike, where we like the demanding coach of your internal voice. Just suck it up. Suck it up and do it. Stop bitching. Just do it. That's not helpful. So I'm learning to be a bit more self-compassionate with myself. Tell me about it in the comments. So let's talk more about self-care or stress management. That's number one. Number two, of course, I'm going to talk about physical fitness. You absolutely have to be physically active. We know this. Walking the dog is going to force myself to attend lower intensity training. Yep. Finally, I'm agreeing every damn hit. Yeah, look at you guys. Hi, Holly. I stop and make a list and I purge everything that is stressing me out at the moment. Oh, I love it. Sally's goes down and sews with a cup of tea. Your music, that's awesome. Yeah. So of course, fitness, exercise and fitness. So I'm gonna summarize the recommendations. And I know I've said this before in some of these lives, but your recommendations are the same across the board when it comes to your lifespan, like where you are in the lifespan. If you're not getting 150 moderate minutes of aerobic activity, start small and start to increase that. Lisa does bubble baths, yoga as therapist. Yep. So 150 minutes, what does that look like? 150 minutes looks like 30 minutes 5 times a week of moderate intensity workouts. So this is cardiovascular we're talking about. We're not even talking about strength training yet. So 30 minutes of something moderate. So walking at a moderate pace where you feel like you can still carry on a conversation, that's moderate. Now, if you're like, Julia, okay, I don't want to do that much. I don't have time for that. You can convert that 150 minutes to 75 minutes of more vigorous activity. Casey takes my body combat class. That's vigorous. You probably can't hold a conversation when you're taking that class. 75 minutes of that per week. So that boils down to an hour and 15 minutes. It's doable. But it's not doable in a way that if you don't plan, it doesn't happen. If you don't plan to make it happen, it will not happen. So that's try you what? Brady? Conversation? You can have a conversation. You were just a bit more trained. You're an instructor. You should be. You have to talk during it. I have a conversation with myself all the time I teach combat. Squirrel? Squirrel? Donna teaches it too. I don't know if Donna's still watching. Donna and I used to teach combat years ago at Gold's Gym in O'Fallon. Okay, strength training. So strength training has to happen, guys. If you're not strength training, I don't know what you're doing. If you're not strength training heavy, I don't know what you're doing. Like, get rid of the 5-pound dumbbells. It's good, but it's not good enough. When we strength train, we don't strength train by just looking at an Instagram story and going, oh yeah, I like that workout, I'm gonna try that. Or going to YouTube and saying, let me try this workout today. It's good, but not gonna work in the long run. I don't wanna say good enough, because it's good, and it's a starting place. If you're like, Julia, I don't know what to do, I don't have time to figure it out, going to YouTube, going to Instagram, doing those workouts is better than nothing, but here's why it's not good enough. The reasons why it's not good enough is that if you consistently do something different every single day, your muscles haven't had time to adapt. They haven't had time to challenge themselves at the resistance that you're giving them. I repeat my programming 4 weeks at a time. So I'm doing the same workout for my legs for 4 weeks. I'm doing the same workout for my upper body for 4 weeks. And then I change it. Because it takes some time for your muscles to get to progressive overload and to get to adaptive training. Once that happens, then that's when you start to see muscle changes. Hi, Sue. That's when you start to see muscle growth and the lean muscle mass that we all need to protect our bones, to counteract all of that lowering of estrogen and allowing those osteoclasts to start to diminish your bone density. When you have weight-bearing exercises on your bone, that has been shown to increase the mass of your bones to counteract the stuff that's happening with your withdrawal of estrogen. That is absolutely necessary. And if you're not doing it, you need to talk to me. I can help you. Okay? Even if you live in another state, I can help you. Right, Holly? Holly and I are working together for a couple months. If you don't know what to do, I can help you. What was I going to say? Oh, and on top of that, when you have lean muscle on your body, what do you have? Even abroad. You're right, Faye. What do you have on your body when you have lean muscle? You have a calorie-burning piece of a piece of tissue. So 2 people that weigh the same thing, 2 people that weigh 150 pounds, one has 25% muscle mass, one has 10% muscle mass. This person that has 25% muscle mass is going to burn more calories at rest. Yep. Yes, muscle. Muscle is lean, mean, calorie-burning machines that keep you fitter for longer. Not just that, it keeps you mobile for longer. If you are not actively strength training in a way that's challenging muscle growth, that is actively pursuing the addition of lean muscle tissue on your frame, you are actually losing muscle. Because if you did nothing post 30 years old, and if you sat on your butt, you would naturally just lose muscle mass. It is so true. If you don't use it, you lose it. Again, that is the biggest reason why we preach strength training for women over 40, because you absolutely have to do that to protect your muscle mass or protect your bone mass, and then have lean muscle tissue on your body to burn calories. It's just that simple. And unfortunately, the weight room isn't for women, right? We all think, we shouldn't be there. Those guys are gonna look at me. I'm so nervous. I'm just gonna go take a class with the rest of the women. Fuck that. I love my classes, but you know what? Body Pump's not. Body Pump's not it. Strength training classes in the gym is a good place to start until you get the confidence to try strength training outside the group fitness room. I'm sorry, like, I hate to say it, and I've been a Body Pump instructor for 14 years. It's just not it. It's not it. It's a good place to start. So, and I've got a couple of viewers right now that are doing my Take on the Weight Room challenge. I'm actually going to run that again. So if you are interested in learning the ropes of the weight room, stay tuned. I'm going to be putting some information out there. I would love to have you. It's definitely been a great success this first round. I know the women that are doing it are doing great. They are rocking it. They are killing it. They are doing some things in the weight room they never thought they would have done. Ashley is another one of my clients who I've been really coaching and really like supporting her to get into the weight room, and she sent me this message the other day saying that she's building more confidence and she's feeling strong. It just lights me up to see women taking that on, because if you're not doing it, you're doing yourself such a disservice. That's a huge soapbox, but that's because I'm so passionate about it, and I want to see you take that challenge on if you're not doing it already. You're 50 plus ladies in body pump. The body pump is muscle conditioning. Absolutely. Thank you, Heather, for preaching to them too, because you're right. It is muscle conditioning. And a lot of the times personal trainers will look at body pump as cardio because they just don't view it as strength training, because it is, but it isn't. And this is coming from somebody that loves body pump, but also loves strength training too. Like, I would not be the person I am today without strength training. Hell, I invested probably $20,000 worth of equipment in my basement so I don't have to drive to do it at the gym. And so I can do it at my own time. I can do it at 4 in the morning if I had to. So, anyways. What questions do you have about recommendations for fitness, exercise? Is very basic. And it's not a lack of knowledge. So if you're not doing it, it's not a lack of knowledge. Like, you know these things. So my challenge to you guys is, what is it that's holding you back if you're not doing the things that you want to do and that you know you should do? What's holding you back? You don't have to put this in the comments, but I really want you to think, what's holding you back? Is it a fear? Is it a lack of knowing exactly what to do in the weight room? Is it an access thing? Do you not belong to a gym? Is it a lot of things? Is it a time thing? Did you not have the time of the day? Have you not set aside a time that prioritizes for your strength training? Everybody's different. Everybody's going to have a different answer. Okay, that's number 2. What do you think number 3 is? What goes along with fitness? Food and fitness. So your recommendations for food for fitness here, or food for food, is really just the basic recommendations. Don't complicate things. When it comes to food, we prioritize whole foods. We get enough protein, we get enough hydration, we get enough water, and we still include the things we like to eat. So if you love pizza, pizza is not off limits. Give yourself pizza in a moderation style, like once a week. But eat in a calorie deficit if you're looking to lose that body fat. And it's not as easy. We know that. We know this is not very easy, because otherwise I wouldn't have a job if it was easy. What's the problem when it comes to eating in a calorie deficit? What are the things that I typically see that hold people back from achieving their body composition goals? Do you know? Anybody know? I'll give you a second, because I really want to know what you think that answer is. What is the thing that holds most people back when it comes to achieving body composition goals? There's 11 of you watching. What do you think? And I know there's a lag. Not getting enough protein? Okay. Nah. What do you think? Not prioritizing protein? Yeah? It's not the real answer, but it's probably one. Food? Broad statement, Leisha. Great job. Always food for you. Nah, dude. That's fine, Chrissy. We're having a good conversation today. So the biggest thing I see is consistency. Just consistency, guys. So you may be able to be really good and eat in a way that's supportive of your body composition goals. Say, for example, you're eating in a calorie deficit, you're getting enough water, you're prioritizing protein, all of those things. It sounds like a lot of rules. And who likes to abide by the rules? Not me. Especially not with food, because we all love food. And whenever you say you can't have something, that's the thing you want and nothing else will do. So it's consistency. So when you give yourself all these rules and you show up for a little bit and then you don't, then you like get off and like you purge on or binge on the weekend, life always consists of rules. that consistency tends to be the thing that holds you back, because you may or may not, you may follow it for a little while and then you fall off. And you're like, fuck it. I'm just gonna eat pizza and drink beer for the rest of the weekend. I'll be back right there Monday. Thank you. My hair looks great. Sandy just colored it yesterday. Fuck it, I'm just gonna be back on Monday. And then the weekend rolls around again. And then, it's that cycle. It's that cycle of consistency and then falling off. And then being not consistent and then falling off. So how can you support your goals and still eat in this manner that will get you that body composition change that you're looking for in a way that's sustainable? How can you do that? Small changes. Small changes. Like if you are looking for a body composition goal change right now and you aren't aware of how much protein you're getting, maybe start there. Yeah. For me, it's a little less fuck it and more changes in the behavior don't become automatic. More of that changes in the behavior. Okay. So when you start small, the thing about it is when you start small, those, like kind of Leisha saying, like you start to incorporate those changes in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. Because what if I said, tomorrow you're supposed to eat 100 grams of protein, 30 grams of fiber, 80 ounces of water, and 1,800 calories. Like, where the fuck do you start? Or what if I said tomorrow, all you have to do tomorrow is make sure you have a source of protein at your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was told there'd be no math. Which one's easier? Obviously the second one, right? You can't do all those things. And so when I encourage my clients to make these changes, it's like, okay, you're not eating breakfast? Okay, for the next week, let's just consistently find breakfast 3 times a week. That's it. Or, oh, you don't know how much protein you're getting? Oh, okay, let's just make sure you're eating protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then we'll assess how much protein that actually is. Oh, you don't know how much fiber you're getting? Oh. Okay, so let's look to see what sort of fiber-rich foods you typically eat. Okay. You don't eat a lot of fiber-rich foods. Oh, you don't eat whole grains? Oh, you don't eat beans? You don't eat vegetables? Oh, okay, well maybe let's add some of those instead of taking things away. That's the other thing. When you start to talk about nutrition and eating in a calorie deficit, oftentimes it's associated with what are you taking away out of your diet? And it's like, shit, no one wants to take stuff away. Why do you think about the things you need to add? So adding more fresh foods, adding more fresh vegetables, adding more fiber-rich foods. Like I told Dave today, I was like, we haven't eaten beans in a while. Like I really like beans. I need to think of a bean recipe to eat because I like beans, right? There's no room to add more. Well, okay, but here's what happens. When you start to add more, and if you are eating intuitively, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop when I'm full, I'm gonna eat when I'm hungry, then of course you're gonna like have to eliminate something. If you're like, well, I wanna add more protein in today's lunch, and if you are eating intuitively, you might be like, okay, well, maybe I won't have that huge helping of potato chips, or maybe I won't have that huge helping of rice. Because sure, if there's not enough room to add anything else, subtraction has to be on the back end of things. And sometimes subtraction happens naturally, is my point. Okay? Black beans, rice, salsa, and a little sprinkle of mozzarella cheese. Yeah? Is anybody eating butter beans? Like these big white beans that are in cans, and my personal trainer had posted that on his social media account one day. I was like, butter beans? What the heck are those? And he's like, oh yeah, all you do is just open up a can and put it on your saucepan and heat them up and put a little salt, and they're so good. And I'm like, I have a can of butter beans in my pantry. Maybe I should eat them. So yeah, what other questions do you have about food and nutrition when it comes to this? Like, this is not an easy topic to summarize. It certainly is a topic that needs to be personalized for each person. And that's what I do. That's what I do for my clients. So mostly protein and fiber should be most concerned. Where do carbs get into that? Yeah, good question, Chrissy. So I always suggest to prioritize protein and fiber because with those items, protein and fiber, when you prioritize those things, carbs kind of fill in naturally. So if you're looking for fiber-rich carbohydrates, you're going to start choosing things like whole grain pastas. You're going to choose whole grain breads. You're going to choose the things that are fiber-rich, fruits and vegetables, versus highly processed, chips, the stuff that doesn't have the fiber. When it comes to carbs and fat in terms of macronutrients, carbs and fat can kind of fluctuate depending on what your body needs, and it maybe just kind of falls where they are. Here's an example. If I am coaching a client and I want them to hit, maybe 100 grams of protein per day, and I tell them, okay, 100 grams of protein is your target. We stay under 1,800 calories a day. Carbohydrates and fat can kind of fall where they may, depending on the food selections that you make. And so it is tricky. So this is for the person that is willing to track, the person that is willing to be a bit obsessive for a little while to reach the goals that they're looking for, right? Tracking is not for everybody, and assessing and obsessing over food isn't for everybody either, but eating intuitively for a fat loss goal is difficult. Unless you're going from extremes. So envision somebody that just eats fast food, that has a huge caloric intake of, nutritionally void foods, and they swing to, highly whole foods, lots of lean protein, like the other end of the spectrum. Eating intuitively for that person will lead to weight loss because of because where they were before. Now, somebody that's more like the average American diet, where they typically, eat some processed foods, eat out a bunch, but still have fruits and vegetables here occasionally, and maybe are eating in a calorie surplus, swinging to a calorie deficit with intuitive eating isn't as effective as tracking, knowing that you're in a calorie deficit because you have written down everything that you've eaten, and knowing that you are getting enough protein. Because even as a dietitian, when I decided, oh crap, I'm swinging the pendulum too far to indulging, I need to dial back and start tracking things for myself. When I just sat down and tracked what I typically eat, I was nowhere near the protein target I wanted to be at. Nowhere near. I was getting like 70 grams of protein when I'm trying to target like 120 to 130. We all underestimate the amount of foods that we eat, and we all overestimate how much exercise we do. 100%. Workouts are a hang up. Yep. So the question is, if you are looking to change your body composition, are you willing to be obsessive for a little while? Are you willing to say no to some things that maybe you would have said yes to before? For me, I'm saying no to drinking on the weekends, which kind of sucks because I like my gin and tonics. In the short term, I will not turn it down, for the rest of my life. But for the short term, I want to because I just don't feel good in the body I'm in. If you're willing to do that, then for sure, do it. Nothing's stopping you. But then we have to remember consistency. Consistency is the biggest thing. If you're not consistently showing up and hitting that calorie goal and hitting that protein goal 80% of the time, then what are you doing? Yep. Yeah. Used to track to the point where I knew what I was eating, but then shit happens and I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to being so crazy, but I guess what you have to do. So look at it this way. It's a short-term solution that will give you the habits and put you back to where you need to be. You don't have to track all the time. Like you could track for 3 weeks. And if you track for 3 weeks and you're very mindful of your portion sizes and you kind of, you evaluate your plate and you're like, this is what it should look like. And this is what 1,800 calories looks like for me. I'm just using that number, by the way. It's not at all like a blanket statement of 1,800 calories is what you need. That's a little asterisk to that statement. And then autopilot kind of comes in, where you're like, okay, I've retrained my brain. I know what that portion looks like. I know I don't need to weigh it out. I know I don't need to write it down, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I've reset my portions. I've tracked for a little while, and today I'm like, okay, I don't feel like tracking. I'm gonna eyeball this protein portion. I eyeballed it for lunch. Like, my breakfast stays the same. I don't have to worry about that at all. Like, I just pour out a certain amount of egg whites and put in an egg and put on a piece of toast, and that's it. Maybe view tracking that way. Maybe view tracking as doing it for the short term, resetting your awareness, and then seeing if you can do it intuitively. Do you really need to measure lettuce? No. Things I measure, protein and carbs. Things I don't measure, vegetables and fruits. I don't measure those things. Why the heck? You don't need to. Especially vegetables. You might need to measure fruits. I mean, fruits have a bit more sugar, but no one gains fat from eating too much fruits and vegetables. What animal just came in here? Oh, my cat. As many as you want. I'm never going to tell you no. To be honest, like, if you are putting more fruits and vegetables on your plate, there's never a time that someone like me would say, oh gosh, that's too much fruit. Oh, that's too much berries. Oh, that's too much this. I track when I eat something new or from a restaurant. Yep. Absolutely. What other questions? My kitty cat. You're welcome. My kids. Someone's at the door for my kids. So that's food and nutrition, kind of in a nutshell. If it all seems like a bunch of garbled mess and you're like, Julie, that's a lot, message me. We can chat about how to make it simple for you. The fourth thing, so we talked about, number one was self-care. We talked about self-care and stress management. We talked about fitness. We talked about nutrition. Nope. Chrissy asked me, do you think it's imperative to have proteins within 30 minutes of workout, and how much? So there used to be this idea that you had to eat your protein and your carbs within a 60-minute window, and you wouldn't be getting the benefits of your protein and your carbs after your workout. That's not necessarily true. There's no magic number of when you should be eating after a workout. The only thing is you should be eating after a workout at some point. Maybe an hour. Maybe if you don't get to it for an hour and a half. Bottom line, eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry after a workout, especially if you had a hard workout. See, it's just one more thing, Leisha, one more rule. We don't need to complicate eating, guys. It's just eating. The fitness industry and the wellness industry does a great job with confusing you because they do it on purpose. They want you to buy their products. They want you to buy their solution. They want you to buy things because you're confused. Right? Eggs are bad. Eggs aren't bad. Do intermittent fasting. That'll help you. Oh no, don't do that. Everybody has a different opinion, right? And wellness professionals too, like I'm no different. Like I may say something that you're like, I don't agree with that, Julie. Fine. Don't agree with it. I don't necessarily agree with all the wellness professionals that I see. Hell, there's this one woman that I follow. She does it's called the Galveston diet, and she's an MD from Texas. And she promotes intermittent fasting. And I don't think it's great for lots of reasons. But it works for some people. So that's why I always say, if it's working for you and you don't mind doing it, then okay. It's not doing any harm. If you don't have any real evidence that it's doing harm to your body physiologically, then okay, do it. Yeah. It's the thing. Last thing, fourth thing. Fourth thing is all about finding a supportive community. So who do you have that will support you? Who do you have that you can bounce ideas off? Who do you have that you can work out with? Who do you have in your circle that you can bitch to? That you can, lean on for support? That's the dream. That's the goal of creating this Facebook group, is really truly having this community of women that I can help facilitate this supportive community. That's why I'm doing this. I'm also doing it to hopefully help you with my business. How can my services help you achieve your fitness goals, your health goals? That's the point. Thanks for tuning in, Sue. Yeah. So really, that's it. Do you have a supportive network? You know, virtually, in person, who are the people that you lean on for support? Anybody have one of these cups? I just bought one. And then my oldest daughter really wanted one. I bought one for her. Youngest daughter wanted one of them, so bought one for her. Freaking Stanleys. That's it, guys. It's been about an hour, 50 minutes chatting today. This is a good talk. What other questions, what other comments do you have? You have the hot pink one? I want the hot pink one. I ordered it on eBay and it still hasn't gotten here. I spent way too much on the hot pink one. I like the green one. I was like, oh, maybe I should get green because it complements my hair, so when I'm drinking it, it's cute. But I bought the hot pink one on eBay. That's so silly. Thanks for tuning in, Chrissy. Appreciate it. Yep. All right, y'all. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm going to sign off here. I got to go do a stupid HIIT workout on my bike next, which I'm not looking forward to, guys. It's going to be hard. Yep. We will talk to you later, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you soon, and we'll chat next week. I'll probably do something with those other topics that I posted. Have a good one, guys.